I'm Maggie, nice to meet you.
Hello, what's
Nice to
that?
meet you. I'm Maggie.
Hi, I'm Jake Zoll. Nice to meet you.
Wow, pretty.
Hi, I'm Adam Blake from West Point.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. Yes, sir. Nice to meet you.
Hey, I'm Jake.
West Point.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Jake. Nice to meet you.
This graph does not have a title. However, you don't need one to know this company is no longer in existence. This stock chart shows the final days of a once $5 billion company. Blockbuster failed for a multitude of reasons, one of which is very clear. Blockbuster's customers viewed them as an entertainment provider, but they saw themselves solely as a movie rental service. Because they failed to adapt to what their customers wanted, they failed as a business. While the Blockbuster example is quite extreme, we see a very similar problem facing Ice Cold Express if we were to fail to adapt to what our customers want. We currently provide long-haul transportation for refrigerated items across the United States. However, our customers have recommended that we try intermodal as well. Good afternoon. We're the University of Tennessee. I'm Maggie, and I'm here with my colleagues Adam, Wes, and Jake. And today, we're here to tell you that Ice Cold Express is not a trucking company, but a transportation company. So what is our problem? Currently, Ice Cold Express has a mismatch between what our customers want from us and the services that we're providing from them. So our strategy for that is to realign our strategy to match our customers' changing needs. We have to know what our customers want to be able to close that value gap between the services we offer and what our customers are demanding from us. Now, before we can look into our solution to this, we must first look at the current operations of the company. So we currently see some strengths in the company. We see that we do have this product specialization in the refrigerated reefer segment. We currently provide products that need that temperature-regulated containers throughout the United States, and we see this as a strength in the company. We also see that our current assets are a strength to us that we can use to invest in the company in the future. However, there are some weaknesses. We only currently use a singular mode of transportation using long haul. However, we have this misalignment between our customers' needs because we're not providing that intermodal for them as well. But we see some opportunities. Because of this new market and mode of transportation of intermodal, we can expand our customer base and give them what they want. We also see that there's no current market share majority in the refrigerated segment, and because of this, we can expand our customer base there and compete with our competition as well. We also see that we have a high importance on high-quality products in our transportation services, so we need to look into the hazardous material market as well, because it is one that has been untouched and needs to be filled. But there are some threats we need to take advantage of as well. Because of this limited capacity in the trucking industry and the limitability of truck drivers, we need to be on the forefront of new transportation options so we can provide for our customers and at the cheapest price. We do need to stay on top of an evolving industry so we can be a competitor in this market. Now, these are currently 5 of some of the products that we transport throughout the United States. We get produce from the West Coast, meat from the Heartland, dairy from the Midwest, citrus from Florida, and seafood from the East Coast. We transport these all throughout the United States using long-haul transportation. And now that we've looked at some of the products that we specialize in, let's look at the data behind that.
We break our shipments up into 3 categories, and we segment them by distance. So our shortest distance is from 300 to 750 miles, and that accounts for 58% of our shipments. Our second segment is from 751 miles to 1,500 miles, and this accounts for another 25% of our shipments. Our final segment, from 1,500 miles and farther, that accounts for the remaining 17% of our shipments. By the numbers, that's about 200,000 shipments that we're shipping in our smallest segment. Our middle segment accounts for another 85,000 shipments annually, and our longest segment, the 1,500 miles and farther, is the remaining 58,000 shipments annually. So operating in this intermodal reefer, or the long-haul reefer industry, we operate at a 7% profit margin, which is standard across all of our competitors. So looking at the options that our customers have, they have long-haul, which is what we currently offer them. Some of the pros associated with this are shorter lead times, high responsiveness, and a 1.5% annual growth rate. Some of the cons involve high variable rates, as well as a limited capacity due to the trucker shortage. Another option our customers have is intermodal. And some of the pros associated with this are low variable cost, as well as plenty of capacity in the industry, and there's also a 13% growth rate that we're currently seeing. Some of the cons include low responsiveness and longer lead times. So if you look at the two benefits, they complement each other pretty well, both these options, which lead us to our solution of next load, either mode. And what that means is that we can ship our products via long haul or via intermodal, whichever our customers prefer. And this is a way we're going to close that gap between what we offer and what our customers want. So by doing this, we're going to be able to utilize our assets better and increase our profits. So looking at the profits we're going to be able to see, we see that it's a pretty standard rate for trucks all the way across. And this is the more profitable way, up until about 700 miles. So for that first customer segment I was describing earlier, from 300 to 750 miles, we're only going to ship via long haul. At that point though, it becomes more profitable to ship via intermodal. So we're going to offer this to our customers as well. And we expect about 60% of our customers in that distance range to want to switch, and about 40% to want to stay with long haul, whether it be because of high perishability or because it's not an option due to terminal location. We expect some of them to want to go ahead and just stick with the long haul option. So now that we've looked at profitability, we need to look at the cost. So we did this by looking at a total cost of ownership analysis. One of the costs associated with this is that upfront unit purchase price. So whether that be the trailers or the tractors that are pulling them. We also have the diesel surcharges that are applied to all of the long haul and intermodal routes. We also have the refrigeration unit and the maintenance that's required to upkeep those, which allows us to have those temperature controlled shipping units. And we also have all of the other links of our supply chain that are going to have profit margins to remain operational as well. Another aspect of this total cost is the chassis rental. And then there's also the empty miles that are associated with shipping, because we're aware that we're not going to be able to take a shipment to a location, drop it off, and immediately fill that container up again every time. Sometimes we're going to have to take that shipping unit somewhere else before we can fill it up and it begins its next journey. There's also monthly trailer maintenance, which is just upkeep. And then at the end of this, we're going to have a unit salvage. So we're expecting to be able to recoup about 10 to 20% of that upfront purchase price at the end of our product's life cycle. So now that we've looked at profitability and we've measured our costs, we need to analyze our revenue.
Like Wes said, we're building into that profitability figure that we were looking at earlier. We found our total cost, but now let's look at the revenues and prices associated with our shipments. Let's start by looking at long haul. So for long haul, we found the total cost, or we found the cost per shipment through that total cost analysis, and we found the total cost per each range on average. From here, we placed our price 7% higher in order to stay in line with the industry average. Because of this, we're only able to maintain a 7% profit margin across these ranges. If we set our prices any higher, we would not be competitive and our customers would transfer over to another carrier. If we lowered our margins anymore, that would take a big hit to our profitability. However, the picture here changes once you account for intermodal transportation as well. Intermodal transportation is actually, the pricing for this is much different. Instead of being cost-based, which trucking is, it's actually market-based. This means that we can set our prices based on what our customers are going to be willing to pay. Our market research showed that our customers would be willing to switch over to intermodal transportation if they could achieve at least 15% cost savings from trucking shipments. So how we did set the price for intermodal shipments is we started with the price for a trucking shipment and reduced it by 15%. That would be enough to switch over our customers from intermodal to, or from trucking to intermodal. Next, we used that total cost framework in order to find the cost per shipment. And then from there, we found our margins associated with intermodal transportation. And as Wes mentioned previously, before 750 miles, we are not profitable because intermodal hasn't achieved those economies of scale associated with it yet. However, after that range, we find that our intermodal option becomes much more profitable. So let's take a step back and look at 2014 operations. So you see we're moving these volumes, but we're only able to maintain a 7% margin across all three haul lengths. However, the picture changes yet again when we account for intermodal. We expect to see our average or our profit margin per segment to increase drastically once we incorporate intermodal into our strategy. But what does this mean for the bottom line? In 2014, we found our annual profit to be $41 million. By expanding our capacity with intermodal, we expect our 2015 profit to move up to $80 million. So now that we've decided that intermodal is definitely a profitable venture that we should move into, we have yet another choice before us. Do we ship using containers or do we ship using trailers? Well, there are a few differences between the two of them. For instance, containers or trailers do end up costing a little more. First of all, they cost more upfront and they're more expensive to maintain. However, they have a higher payload per shipment, which does add their benefit to them. So we look at, or as you can see for weight limited freight, you can especially see that containers do suffer a little bit more in comparison because they have to have that chassis associated with it as well. And then for cube limited freight, you can see containers are yet again a little bit lower because that refrigeration unit takes up internal volume within the container. But let's look at the profitability analysis between the two of them, and let's start by looking at long haul shipping. For long haul, you can see that the profitability in terms of profit per pound per mile is marginally different between containers and trailers. You can see containers is a little bit more, but it's not enough to signal to us that we need to make a drastic change in our operations. However, again, intermodal changes this picture a little bit. You can see that once intermodal achieves profitability, the profitability per pound per mile between the two of them, as the range increases, containers definitely take the lead above trailers. So this shows us that we should be moving forward using trailers rather than containers. But this offers yet another comparison between, or another decision that we need to make. Do we move forward and immediately replace all of our trailer assets with containers? Or do we cycle out our trailers as they reach the end of their lifetime and replace them with containers? In your folders, if you refer to Appendix 1, you'll see that we did a cost benefit analysis for if we were to immediately replace our trailers with container units. You can see that the total cost for each segment, or the total cost associated, is not outweighed by the benefit. This means that we should not immediately replace our shipment or our trailers with containers. Rather, we should cycle them out as they need to be retired, so that as every trailer needs to be replaced, we replace it with containers. So now that we have found that intermodal is a much more profitable venture than over-the-road trucking, and that containers are more profitable than trailers, let's put this to the test, and let's run a few examples and see if actual numbers line up with the calculations that we've done and what our data has shown. So let's say, for instance, that we're moving lettuce from Salinas, California to Chicago, Illinois. You can see this is a very long haul, and based on our analysis, you would expect an intermodal container to be the most cost-effective and profitable shipping mode for our customers. We ran the analysis based on a diesel cost of $1.75 per gallon and $3.5 per gallon. And for both of these, you can see that intermodal container is a superior option, both from our end and our customer's end for the shipping, which concretes the findings from our analysis. However, let's look at another example. Let's say that we are shipping candy from Hershey, Pennsylvania to Akron, Ohio. We can see that this is a much shorter haul. This is about 320 miles. So as we've stated, intermodal doesn't achieve the profitability by that range. So we would expect an over-the-road haul to be the most effective mode for this. We ran the numbers again, and we found that this is in line with our analysis. So let's run a third example. Let's say that we are moving meat from Garden City, Kansas to Worcester, Massachusetts. You can see that this is another long haul, and so we would expect an intermodal container to be the most profitable and cost-effective measure for us and our customers. We ran the analysis one last time, and we found that this is true. So therefore, we have proven that an intermodal container, or that not only is an intermodal shipment more cost-effective at longer ranges than long-haul trucking, but using containers is a long-term, more profitable venture than using trailer assets.
So we've given you our solution, we've given you some of that data behind it. But what are our next steps to enable the solution to actually work? And the first step was we needed to identify what required added capacity do we need to enable to make this work. And first we'll look at our 2014 operations. In 2014 we operated with 1,500 tractors, a little over 2,200 trailers, and this was able to service upwards of 290 1,000 shipments. Now, if we use those data points in our operations in 2015, we'll be shipping 80% of our volume still long haul. This attributes to about 233,000 shipments. Now, our analysis has shown that we will only require a little over 1,600 trailers, and our fleet will need to be reduced to mirror that volume reduction. However, where's that leftover volume? It's flowing through intermodal. And you can see that here. This leftover volume accounts for a little over 56,000 shipments through the intermodal. And this will require 567 of our trailers and a little over 1,700 containers. Now, this strategic shift will come with substantial investment. And the first investment comes in to investing in our refrigerated containers. This is going to cost us $86.2 million to invest in these containers. Another investment is to take our current over-the-road trailers and make them capable to intermodal. This will cost an additional $1.1 million. Now we know this investment will incur us debt, so we've incorporated a total cost in addition to that of 20%, and that will result in a little over $17 million. Now this total investment is total at $104.5 million. Now when and where are we going to see the dividends off this? And this chart can show you exactly that. So this investment has enabled us to increase our revenue by $38.5 million year after year. What that means is after a little over 2.5 years, we're going to be able to pay back our investment $104.5 million. Simply put, any dollar made after year 2.7 will be directly affected by our bottom line. So moving forward, we had to address ourselves qualitatively as well. I guess the competition ensure that the customer, you're rolling here. Keep rolling. Great. Test.
And this is a test.
I won't throw me off, I promise.
I thought your phone was going.
I'll get rolling. So what we tried to do was we tried to step into the supplier's shoes, or to the customer's shoes, excuse me, and to address ourselves as a supplier. This is what we did, exactly that. We identified 3 traits that we believe the customer needed, and the first was competitive pricing. The second was lead time, and the third, capacity. Now you can see how we stack up with our current operations. We are not delivering that customer value that they demand with 60% score. Frankly, that's not good. Post-implementation, you can see the scorecard change. Now, moving to intermodal has allowed us to take down that competitive pricing and fill those gaps that the customer needs, resulting in a 90% score. Additionally, another aspect of the business we had to address was risk mitigation. Now, we address this by matching probability with impacts. Now, our current state puts us at a medium risk level. Now, this is because we're currently operating in one mode, and it's very likely that a supply disruption could happen to that one mode, and all our volume is attributed to one mode. However, moving to 2 modes will diversify that volume, make it unlikely that both modes would be disrupted, and then spreading our volume over 2 modes as well. So we've given you our presentation, we've given you our analysis, our problem, our solution, but what are the impacts to the business? And I'll start with profit margins. We've taken our profit margins from an industry standard of 7% to 12% overall. In 5 years, we've made additional profits of $193 million, and the investment that we did that with was broken even in only a little over 2.5 years. Now, all of this has concluded in not short-term business growth, but long-term sustainable business growth for our customers and ourselves. Moving forward, we've increased our capacity by moving from a very limited capacity industry to the multi-mode added capacity. And by doing this, we've mitigated our risk of disruption. We currently boast an average customer savings of $546 per shipment made. And most importantly, we've closed the gap between the customer and the business. Now, at the very beginning of the presentation, we showed you a graph just like this one. Now, that graph at the beginning also didn't have a title, but that title doesn't mean you can't still figure out that this company was very, very successful. Now, why was this company successful? It's because Netflix was able to adapt to the environment around them, adapt to the changing customer needs, and service them adequately. That's exactly what we've done here at ICE. Not only have we expanded our business, raised our profits, and realigned ourselves not as just a trucking company, but a transportation company, we've closed the gap, the critical gap between the customer and the business. We want to thank you for your time, and the Tennessee team would like to say we are happy to field any questions that you might have. So thank you very much.
Question.
Sure.
The risk mitigation that you're talking about, you spoke of it being dependent around service interruption. Were there any other considerations on risk mitigation?
Yes, so we
And I
did.
have a second question for that.
Okay, so we did consider fuel as a risk that we were facing, and we thought we were also decreasing some of that risk by getting into intermodal because of those lower variable costs that we talked about earlier. And we'll be able to offer lower prices through those shipments, as opposed to just long haul.
To work off that, there was a couple more as well, and one of them included just moving into the intermodal business in general. And we believe this is a new risk, this is a new business associated with this. This is not something we've done before as a core competency. However, moving into this business with only 1/5 of our volume and slowly, we believe that's mitigating risk.
Now, if I understand, your approach is an all-in for intermodal, is that correct?
It is all in, it is not all in. So currently or for the next year, we would anticipate about 20% of our shipments moving through intermodal and 80% moving through long haul trucking.
So,
You segregate those though, did you segregate those by distance or by commodity, or how did you figure that, or was that just a gross expectation?
So we segregated those based on length of haul. So for that first segment of haul, we know that 100% of those shipments, and that was the majority of our shipments, would still move through over the road because that's not profitable for intermodal. Moving from there, for that second segment, we assumed that 60% of our customers would move to intermodal, and we applied the same number to that longest range of shipments as well.
and that risk part, mitigation, what about perishability of some of the products, like the lettuce, for example, how long does that last?
And
If you're
that,
doing it intermodal across country,
Right, so we assume that those are some of the products that are gonna be in that 40% for the longer range that still wanna use the long haul option. So we're accounting for that and saying that there's gonna be a good portion of our customers who do have highly perishable products and don't want the extra lead time added in with intermodal shipments. So we're still gonna offer them the same prices for the long haul that we've been offering them this whole time.
And our estimate is coming from the fact that we're receiving an increasing number of requests for bids that have an intermodal requirement. So we know that there are customers out there who are requiring intermodal transportation.
So that's the group that you're gonna switch, not the group that isn't asking
Yes.
for it.
Correct, we're still gonna offer them the same service that we have been.
What was your recommendation on the lettuce of how should it, what mode would it take?
So if that customer were to find that the perishability wouldn't be, so that perishability would not be affected by that long lead time, that we would recommend they would move through intermodal. However, if they found that that lettuce is going to expire before it gets there in 10 days, we would still have that over-the-road option for them.
You're looking to price them differently, or just to ask them which one they would potentially afford and expect a percentage of long haul and a percentage of intermodal kind of across the board? Typically, the customer, I would think, is going to price each shipment on a different basis. Basically, you're quoting a business price, right? And if they're asking for an intermodal rate, you're going to give them an intermodal rate. And if they go to long haul trucker, you're going to force them to pay a higher price.
So the long haul truck rate that we would still offer would still be in line with our competitors. So it would still be one of the lowest prices they could find for over the road.
So it's going to be modally priced.
Yes.
And they're going to pick the mode when they give you the order.
Yes. If they believe that they can move through intermodal, we believe it would make sense for them to take advantage of that lower cost.
And the price for the intermodal is based off of the price for the long haul. It's a 15% price
I
reduction.
understand where you're getting the pricing. I just wanted to make sure that it's like buying internet. You determine the service range that you're going to get,
Exactly.
correct? And there's a different price for each one. It's not a blended price.
Correct.
It's gotten from a blend, but it's separately priced. Okay.
And on the same rate level, I'm looking at your appendix, and the one that sticks out just from other presentations as well as this, the candy. You've got $488 worth of other costs. What is that?
Those other costs are, so to get to that other cost, what we did is we found that total cost of ownership and we subtracted any transit costs associated with that. So we took out any rail costs or any drayage costs associated with that. So those other costs are the lifetime costs associated to maintenance, refrigeration units, or like chassis, divided by the total number of shipments for that.
This is the long haul one that I'm looking at. So that's $488 worth of long haul, which
Yes.
doesn't include chassis.
Yeah, so I meant that as an overarching thing.
Okay.
So long haul wouldn't include the chassis.
But you still have other costs on your intermodal, which are, other is a big word. It just, or it represents a big dollar, so that just sticks out. Okay, well, if your origin is your, it kind of skews it because you know, me, the customer, is looking at line haul, and you do have accessorials, and then you get down here, your other costs are more than your line haul, so explain that.
Let's take for instance that the moving through an intermodal trailer, let's say. So that intermodal trailer, that other cost is going to be the lifetime cost of that intermodal unit and the refrigeration units needed over the course of its lifetime. So it would need about 3.5 per its lifetime. That total cost for those two things, I believe that's the only two that would go into it, divided by the number of shipments that trailer would make over the course of its lifetime. So that way you're depreciating essentially those expenses over every shipment.
Just as a suggestion, don't,
Okay.
customers don't want to see that.
Thank you for that feedback.
Well, it's, you're basically gonna show them the total cost. You're not-
Right,
You're not gonna break the
I
cost structure
understand that.
down, if you can help it.
Base rate
There's a
plus
zero
fuel.
in right on that.
Base rate plus fuel.
So you have $1.1 million worth of associated with converting your fleet. What's that entail?
So currently, our trailers are just compatible with long haul. They are not, we cannot put them on an intermodal flat car right now. So there's just costs that are associated with making it compatible. It's gonna add some weight to it and decrease the capacity, but it's just one of those things that you have to do to make it so that we can use that next load either mode solution and take that trailer, put it on a flat car, and then next time hook it up to a tractor and use it as a long haul.
Do you know what any of the conversion is, or?
We estimated $500 per trailer.
I may have missed it, but how would you want to handle the dray on the intermodal? I don't remember that being mentioned. Are you going to do that with company truck, or how you going to get the trailer to and from the rail yard?
Right, so we're actually gonna use a 3PL drayage service and work with them, build a relationship, and then have them take our trailers that first leg and final leg of transportation.
You got that cost built in your
Yes.
model?
Absolutely. We have a total cost, actually.
Yeah, we can walk you through total cost as well. In fact, so our total cost framework, this is finding the total lifetime cost associated with a trailer moving through that range. Let's just assume that all the shipments are moving through that range. So you can see the total trailer cost over the course of its lifetime, including salvage. Refrigeration cost, which ends up being, I'm sure you guys are aware, one of the largest components of cost for reefer units. In addition, drayage cost. So that's where where we're using local drayage. So they give us a base rate of $1.45 per mile, plus some fixed costs of pickup and delivery, and then we include their margin as well in there. Does that answer your question regarding drayage?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought you guys did a great job with the graphics. I thought your presentation flowed really well. And I thought you guys did a really good job considering the cost of capital, what your ROI would be, cost versus service strategy. And I thought you did a really good job in how you presented it to us. So good work.
Thank you about that cost of capital. You think that's legitimate at 20%?
I mean,
Maybe a little high?
no, but what I like about them is they didn't go in rock low to be able to try to, so if anything, they've got upside. If they can secure, but I like the way that you guys actually considered that and put it into your presentation. and thought through that, as well as saying, hey, in some lanes, it may be better for me to go over the road than intermodal, because that's what my customer wants. So it's not always price driven.
Thank you. We try to use conservative numbers for most of our customers.
Are there any other questions we can handle? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Good job.
Thank you.